Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Vagishadhyas sumanasas sarvarthanam upakrame yannatva kritakrityasya stannamami gajananam Sharada Sharadam Bhoja Vadana Vadanambuje Sarvada Sarvadasmakam Sannidhim Sannidhim Kriyat Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Shastrabdhi Paradrishvanam Sangahinam Taponidhim Bhaje Shri Bharati Tirtha Gurum Bhadraughadayakam Vidya Vinaya Sampannam Vitaragam Vivekinam Vande Vedanta Tattvajñam Vidhushekhara Bharatim Naumi Hrinjapamatra Tushta Hridayam Shri Chakra Rajalayam Bhagyayatta Nijanghi Pankaja Nati Stotradi Samsevanam Skandhe Bhasya Vibhasi Parshvayugalam Lavanya Pathonidhim Bhaktatrana Parayanam Bhagavatim Shri Raja Rajeshwarim. Offering my Sashtanga Pranamas to the Pada Padmas of the Ubhaya Jagat Gurus. It is with the grace of Devi Sharadamba and the Ubhaya Jagat Gurus that in this auspicious time of the Sharan Navaratra Parva, these Navaratris, that we are able to spend a session doing Chintana about Devi, and that too via a stotra composed by Bhagavatpada, and that too a stotra that has been chosen by the Jagat Guru himself for Parayana alongside the Shiva Nakshatramala stotra and the Lakshmi Nrisimha Karavalamba stotra. This is of course the Kalyanavristhi Stava. The Kalyanavristhi Stava is a very particular and a special stotra composed by Bhagavatpada. As we know, the stotras that Bhagavatpada composed have great variety, both in terms of the topics that they delve into, as well as the style that they are composed in. The Vishnu Shatpadi Stotra is very different in style from the Saundarya Lahari. The Saundarya Lahari differs greatly from the Shiva Padadikeshanta Stotra. The Shiva Padadikeshanta Stotra once again is very different from the Lakshmi Nrisimha Karavalamba Stotra. The Karavalamba Stotra is very different from the Harimide Stava. The Harimide Stava is very distinct from the Kanakadhara Stotra. So, it is the poetical genius of Bhagavatpada as well as the extreme mantra siddhi and tapas siddhi that Bhagavatpada had that produced this great variety of poetry par excellence. Within these stotras, Bhagavatpada imbued some of them with certain mantric properties, so that the people who read that stotra, besides getting certain poetical value out of it, besides being able to praise Bhagavan or Devi with that stotra, besides being able to find some tattvas, would also be able to reap the benefits of doing the mantra japa of that particular devata. Amongst these kinds of stotras, we can see the Dakshinamurti Varnamala Stotra, wherein the letters of the mantra of Medha Dakshinamurti are arranged such that each shloka starts with a letter of the mantra, thereby ensuring that the person who does japa or parayana of that stotra gets the benefits of having done japa of the Medha Dakshinamurti mantra. We also see that in the Shiva Nakshatra Mala Stotra, Shiva Panchakshara Nakshatra Mala Stotra, that by putting the 5 letters Namah Shivaya at the end of each pada, and by writing 27 such shlokas with 4 padas each, Bhagavatpada ensured that whoever did parayana of that stotra would get the phala of having done japa of the Panchakshari mantra 108 times. In the same way, a stotra that is designed to give the phala of mantra japa to the people who do parayana of it is this Kalyanavristhi Stava. The Kalyanavristhi Stava, comprised of 15 shlokas plus a phalashruti, arranges the 15 letters of the Srividya Panchadashakshari mantra. The Srividya Panchadashakshari mantra, also known as the Kadi mantra, and in it, Bhagavatpada describes the glory of Devi, the nature of Devi's mantra, the benefits of doing upasana and aradhana of Devi, alongside, as we said, imbuing the entire stotra with these mantric properties. We see that Bhagavatpada himself has given us this Panchadashakshari mantra in a codified manner in the Saundarya Lahari. These mantras that are in Tantra, when they are prepared to be distributed to the public, it is sampradaya that the mantra is not given in its proper form. That is to say, in the form that it is usually done japa of, or the form that japa is usually done in. Instead, each letter of the mantra will have a designating word that will be put in the shloka, and thereafter the shloka has to be decoded if we wish to get the letters of the mantra. So we see that Bhagavatpada has done this in the Saundarya Lahari. In the shloka, Shiva Shaktih Kamaha Kshitiratha Ravishita Kiranaha Smaro Hamsa Shakras Tadanucha Para Mara Harayaha Ami Hrilekhabhis Tisrubhir Avasaneshu Ghatitaha Bhajante Varnaste Tava Janani Nama Vayavatam. So in this Bhagavatpada says, Hey Janani, O Devi, Tava Nama Vayavatam Varnaha Bhajante. These letters become the building blocks of your name. These japa, these letters become the parts whose sum total is your name, that is to say your mantra. So you have Shiva, Shakti, Kama, Kshiti, Ravi, Shetakirana, Smara, Hamsa, Shakra, Para, Mara, Hari. These are 12 different bijas. And then Ami Hrilekhabhihi Tisribhihi Ghatitaha. These are then imbued with 3 Hrilekhas, that is to say a Hrinkara, that we will also discuss in this stotra. So you add those 3, giving you a total of 15 letters. In Srividya, this mantra, the Shodashi mantra, is one of the greatest mantras that exists in the Srividya Sampradaya, and it is therefore sometimes called the Mantra Raja in the Puranas and in other tantric literature. This Kalyanavristhi Stava, which as we have just said is imbued with these 15 letters of the Panchadashakshari mantra, has attained great renown in tantric literature as well, not just as a stotra, but as a piece of literature that pertains to tantra. Just as we see that many Srividya granthas quote the Saundarya Lahari very often, in the same way we can see that this Kalyanavristhi Stava also finds mention in many other Srividya texts. That is to say, this grantha this stotra has become a reference point for many other texts that have developed on the tattva of Srividya. For example, we see that Bhaskara Raya himself, in the Saubhagya Bhaskara Vyakhyan of Lalita Sahasranama, quotes this very stotra in some cases. So, although it is not possible for us to go over all the shlokas of this stotra, we shall look over some shlokas in the time that we have, and let us try to understand what Bhagavatpada has taught us through those stotras. So this Kalyanavristhi Stava, it is called the Kalyanavristhi Stava because the first shloka starts with Kalyanavrishtibhihi. So because the first word is Kalyanavristhi Stava, this stotra has become popular as the Kalyanavristhi Stava. But we see this referred to in other texts of Srividya as the Panchadashi Stava. That is another name that this stotra has, and it is also the name that we see Bhaskara Raya referred to this stotra with. It is called the Panchadashi Stava, as we said, because the Panchadashi mantra is imbued. This stotra is imbued with the Panchadashi mantra. So there is one particular shloka in the beginning. It is the second shloka. Etavadeva janani sprahaniya tvad-vandaneshu salilasthagite cha netre sannidhya mudya darunayuta sodarasya tvad-vigrahasya paraya sudhaya plutasya. So this shloka is telling us how our bhavana should be when we pray to Devi. So Bhagavatpada says, Etavadeva sprahaniyam aste. this is all that is desirable. Etavad eva. This is the only thing that I desire. Sprahaniyam. That is desirable. Which is tvad-vandaneshu. When I perform vandana to you, when I do namaskara to you, salilas thagite cha netre, in my eyes which are filled with tears, salilas thagite, in those eyes that are filled with tears, tvad vigrahasya sannidhyam. I want your form to be in the sannidhi, ever close to my eyes, which are filled with tears as I do namaskara to you. That is to say, Bhagavatpada is asking that the Rupa of Devi always be in his drishti, that is to say in our drishti, that we pray that the form of Devi ever appear in front of our eyes. But here, Bhagavatpada has added one more Visheshana to the form of Devi, Tvad Vigrahasya Paraya Sudhaya Plutasya, your form that is drenched in Amrita. So why is it that Bhagavatpada has chosen Amrita as the upamana for Devi? Amrita has two facets. It is both sweet as well as eternal. When the Devatas drink Amrita, there is a sweetness of Amrita that is enjoyed by the Devatas, but it also grants that long life. It grants that eternal being. So, when we say that Devi's form is drenched in Amrita, we mean that it is simultaneously very sweet, in that it causes great ananda to the bhakta who beholds that form, as well as the fact that the Rupa is Nitya, that Devi is not, and the form of Devi is not ephemeral the way the objects of the world are, but rather Devi is Nitya, she is permanent, she is Sat. So Bhagavatpada reminds us of that, and also reminds us of the mindset that we need to have when we perform namaskara towards Devi. When we do namaskara to Devi, our eyes should be filled with tears. The happiness that we get should dwarf everything else. If you notice in the world also, we usually do not get tears in our eyes due to the properties of an object. We get tears in our eyes when there is an emotional connection with whatever has just happened. That is to say, usually we don't eat good food and then shed tears of happiness. We shed tears of happiness when we hear a song that touches our heart. We shed tears of happiness when we hear that something very nice or auspicious has happened to a loved one. Only when there is an emotional connection with whatever has just occurred are tears of joy shed. So when we say that the second we do namaskara to Devi, tvad-vandaneshu netre salilasthagite, the second when we say that as soon as you do namaskara to Devi, the eyes are filled with tears. It is telling us that, Bhagavatpada is telling us that when we do aradhana of Devi, when we do worship of Devi, this should not be something that is mechanical. It should always be accompanied with the utmost bhakti and with the utmost love. That is the only way that the netra will become salilas thagita. And then of course the bhavana needs to be there that Devi is always in our sannidhi. Rupasya sannidhyam. Devi is not somewhere else in halfway across the Sudha Samudra in the middle of the Manidvipa. Devi is always with us, is always close to us, and is always ready to guard us and protect us. So if that is the bhavana that we can have when we pray to Devi, when we worship Devi, then that prayer is sure to help us reap the benefits of Devi Upasana. This is one such shloka. Then there is one more shloka that Bhagavatpada has written, in which the Hrinkara is discussed. Hrinkarameva tavanama grananti vedaha matas trikona nilaye tripure trinetre tvat samsmritau yamabhatabhibhavam vihaya divyanti nandanavane saha lokapalaihi. So here Bhagavatpada is saying Vedaha Hrinkarameva tava nama grananti. The Vedas have declared, O Devi, that your name is Hrinkara, that the Hrinkara denotes you. This Hrinkara is one of the most important mantras and bijas, not just in Sri Vidya, but in mantra Vangmaya as a whole. This Hrinkara is referred to as the Bhuvaneshwari Bija, the Lajja Bija, the Hrillekha, the Maya Bija, amongst many other names. It also denotes many things. The Hakara in the Hrim Bija, the Hakara being the Bijakshara of Akasha. So that denotes that the Vyapakatva of Devi. Devi pervades this world the way that Akasha also pervades this cosmos. And that aside, the Tantra has written in some very particular shlokas that this Hrinkara denotes Devi as Parabrahman. So the Hakara denotes Srishti because it is from the Akasha, which is denoted by the Hakara, that the rest of the Panchabhutas came forth. The Akasha, Vayuhu, Vayor, Agni, Agni, Rabha, Adbhyav, Prithvi. So it is because Akasha is the first Bhuta from which the rest of the Bhutas emanated, that the Hakara denotes Srishti. The Ikara denotes Sthiti. The Repha, the R, the R in the middle of the Hrim Kara denotes Laya. So that Devi that does Srishti Sthiti Laya, Srishti Sthiti Layadikam Karoti iti Hring Karaha. So the Hring Kara is Devi because Devi is the force behind the Srishti Sthiti Layas of the world. In this way, this Hring Kara is nothing other than the name of Devi. And then Bhagavatpada gives three Visheshanas or three Sambodhanas for Devi, Mataha, Trikona Nilaye, Tripure, Trinetre. Devi is referred to as Trikona Nilaya, Tripura and Trinetra. So, Trinetra is self-explanatory. Devi has three eyes, being the Surya, Chandra and Agni. Then Devi is referred to as Trikona Nilaye, she who resides in the Trikona. So there are many names in the Lalita Sahasranama also that correspond to this. For example, Trikona Antara Deepika. So she who is the Deepa, Deepavad Deepika is what Bhaskarana writes there. She who is the light within that Trikona. So in the Shri Chakra, in the 9 Avaranas, as you go in, the middle Bindu is where Devi resides with Kameshwara, where Kameshwara and Kameshwari, Tripura Sundara and Tripura Sundari reside. Around that Bindu is a Trikona. So the first Avarana outside the Bindu is a triangle, a Trikona. So we can take it that Devi resides in the Bindu within the Trikona. In the same way, in a more yogic sense, this Trikona is actually a triad of energy centers within the body. In the Mooladhara resides Agni. In the Hridaya, that is to say the Anahata Chakra, resides Surya. And in the Murdha, at the Sahasrara Chakra, resides Chandra. These are three loci of energy. That is to say, Agni at the Mooladhara, Surya in the heart, that is to say the Anahata Chakra, and Chandra at the Sahasrara, the crown of the head. So these three, when combined, form a Trikona, a triad of points. And Devi is that Shakti, that Sushumna Shakti that flows within those 3 points, that Chaitanya that courses within those 3 yogic points is none other than Devi herself. So she is Trikona Nilaye, she resides in that Trikona. And then Devi is referred to as Tripura. This is perhaps alongside Kameshwari and Lalita, one of the most important names that Lalita Devi is referred to in the Sri Vidya Tantra. This Tripura, Trini Purani Yasyahasa, she who has 3 cities, or she who is the mistress, the empress of these 3 Puras. These 3 Puras have also been explained in various ways. So Ida, Sushumna, Pingala, Ida is what the Tantra is saying. So the Sushumna, Ida and Pingala, the 3 energy flows of the body on the left, right and center respectively. Those 3 are the 3 Puras. And the Shakti coursing through those is none other than Devi. This is one meaning. When doing Vyakhyan of the name Baindavasana in Lalita Sahasranama, as Bhaskara Raya explains the name Baindavasana, he explains how the 3 avasthas are conceived as both Bindus and Puras. and that Devi being linked with those three avasthas and the three puras is Tripura. That is to say, the three avasthas are the three puras, the three cities, and Devi resides within all of them. That is to say, the same Jiva Chaitanya that experiences the world in Jagrata Avastha, the same Jiva Chaitanya that watches the dream unfold in the Swapna Avastha, that same Jiva Chaitanya that exists experiencing its own happiness, although veiled by avidya, in the Sushupti Avastha, that Chaitanya is Devi. That same Chaitanya that resides in the three Avasthas, that Shuddha Chaitanya is none other than Devi. This is one more meaning that has been given of Tripura. There is one more meaning that is given. Nadi Trayantu Tripura Sushumna Pingala Ida Mano Buddhis Tatha Chittam Puratrayam Udahratam Tatra Tatra Vasatyesha Tripuretyabhidhiyate is what Tantra is telling us. So besides the three nadis, the Manas, Buddhi and Chitta, these are the three names that the Antahkarana assumes when it performs different activities. When it is performing Sankalpa or Vikalpa, that is when it is deciding whether it wants something or not, the Antahkarana is called the Manas. When it decides something, it is called the Buddhi. So when it wants or does not want something, it is called the Manas. When it decides Nishchayatmika, it is called the Buddhi. And then when it is used to store memories, it is called the Chitta. In this way, this trifecta of utility that the Antahkarana serves is called the Puratraya, the Tripura. And Devi, who resides within the heart, within the Antahkarana, is called Tripura. This has been explained in detail as well. And one more meaning has been given by Bhaskara Raya in the Vyakhya of the name Maha Tripura Sundari. There the Tripura is taken to mean the Triputa. In every thought, there is a triad of entities. That is to say, the thinker, the thought, and the object of thought. This is what is called the Mana, Meya, and Matra. So this trifecta is usually called the Triputa in many Darshanika Granthas, in many schools of philosophy. But it is also referred to as the Tripura when it comes to Sri Vidya Paribhasha, when it comes to the parlance of Sri Vidya. So Devi exists as the seer, as the object that is seen, as well as the means of perception. So in this way also Devi is Tripura. And there is to basically sum all of this up, there is a very nice shloka that has been told in Tantra. Devanam Tritayam Trayi Hutabhujam Shaktitrayam Trisvaraha Trailokyam Tripuri Tripushkaramiti Tribrahma Varnastrayaha Yatkinchit Jagati Tridha Niyamitam Vastu Trivargatmakam Tat Sarvan Tripuretinam Bhagavat Yanvetite Tatvataha. This is one shloka that has been quoted from Tantra. That is to say, Yatkinchit Jagati Tridha Niyamitam. Whatever in this world is split into threes. That is to say, the entire world that we see is split into threes. Devanam Tritayam. The three devatas, that is to say, the Trimurtis, Brahma, Vishnu and Maheshwara. Trayi Hutabhujam. The three Agnis that form the basis for all karma that is done, for the entire karma kanda. The Garhapatya, Dakshina and Ahavaniya Agnis. Shaktitrayam, the three Shaktis that are necessary for any action to take place. Ichha Shakti, Jnana Shakti and Kriya Shakti. Triswaraha, the three swaras that entail the Vaidika Vangmaya, the three swaras that are present in Veda. Then Trailokyam, the three worlds itself. Then Tripushkaram, Trailokyam, Tripuri, Tripushkaramiti, Tribrahma. There are three Vedas, the Rig, Yajus, Sama. So in this way, Varnastraya, in this way the three Varnas of the Omkara, Akara, Ukara and Makara, in this way, Yatkinchit Jagatit Tridha Niyamitam. So whatever it is in this world that is split into three, Tat Sarvam, Tava Tattvato, all of that is referred to as Tripura. Anything in this world that is split into three. The three Gunas also, the Sattva, Rajas, Tamo Gunas, in this way everything in this world that is split into three is referred to as Tripura. And that Devi who is the Adhishtatri of all of these, that Devi who is the empress of all of this, is called Tripura. So, Anvetite, Tripureti nama Bhagavat Yanvetite Tattvataha. Hey Bhagavati, te Tripureti nama Tattvataha Anveti. The name Tripura suits you thoroughly, is what the Tantra is telling us there. So, in this way, Bhagavatpada has also given us two Visheshanas, that is to say Trikona Nilaye and Tripure. But behind those names lies a vast ocean of esoteric rahasyas, of esoteric knowledge. And then this is all Tantra based. If we want to look at a different type of shloka that has a chamatkara in it, Bhagavatpada says in a different shloka in this Panchadashi Stava, in this Kalyanavristhi Stava, Hantuh puram adhigalam paripiyamanaha krurah kathan nabhavita garalasya vegaha nashvasanaya yadi mataridam tavardham dehasya shashvad amritapliti sheetalasya. So Bhagavatpada is doing a chamatkara here, kind of in the vein of another shloka that Bhagavatpada has said in Saundarya Lahari. So Bhagavatpada is basically saying, Hantuh pura madhigalam paripiyamanaha kruraha kathannu bhavita garalasya vegaha. So that garala vega, the effects of the poison that Shiva drank, the halahala that Shiva drank when the Kshitasagara was being churned, the effects of that poison that Shiva drank, that certainly would have spread to the rest of his body. Krura kathanna bhavita garalasya vegaha. Adhikalam puram hantuhu. So that pura hanta, that is to say the enemy of the Tripuras, the Tripura Rakshasas, who is Shiva, in his throat, that visha that was drunk, that poison that was drunk, its vega, its effects and its fallout would have spread to the rest of the body. It would not have been contained were it not for you, Devi. And why is that? Devi, residing in the Vamardha of Shiva's body, resides there as Amrita. So Bhagavatpada says, Shashvad Amrita Pluta Sheetalasya. The half of Shiva's body that consists of Devi is continually drenched in Amrita. As we said earlier, right? Devi's form is said to consist of Amrita because of all of its different properties. So it is because Devi has protected Shiva by residing in his half as Amrita, that the poison of Shiva's throat has not spread to the rest of his body. The Amrita of Devi's Sanidhya, the Amrita of Devi is the counteractive measure to the poison that otherwise would have caused havoc to Shiva. So here what we are basically saying is, it is Devi's Mangalya that is Shiva's Raksha, which is exactly what Bhagavatpada said in Saundarya Lahari as well. Sudhamapyasvadya pratibhaya jara mrityu harinim vipadyante vishve shatamakhadya divishadaha. But all the devatas that drank Amrita, they were all troubled by this halahala. But it is Shiva who drank Visha itself and was not troubled. That is Tavajanani Tatanka Mahima. That is the greatness of Devi, of Lalita Devi, that she was able to shield Shiva, Parameshwara, from the effects of the Visha. So this is one chamatkara that Bhagavatpada has done, because Devi is in half of Shiva's body. So it is because she was in the half of the body that the poison did not spread to the rest of the body. Devi was able to control the spread of the poison and contain it into Shiva's throat. This is one more such shloka that was quite beautiful. Then there is one very particular benefit of Shri Vidya Upasana. That is to say, all upasanas are special in their own way, but obviously there will be certain peculiarities of the upasanas of different devatas. So it is usually said that Strimantro Bhogadav Proktaha Pummantro Muktidas Tatha. It is usually said that a Stri mantra is said to give bhoga, that is to say material pleasure, and a Pum mantra is said to give moksha. That is to say, jnana, and through jnana, moksha. But it is a speciality of Sri Vidya that bhoga and moksha are given simultaneously. Because in this mantra, especially when it comes to the samayachara way of looking at this mantra, that is to say, samayachara wherein Parameshwari and Parameshwara are both worshipped together, especially in that mode of worship of Sri Vidya, this mantra is neither just a Stri mantra nor just a Pum mantra. The Hakara and the Kakara in the mantra are the aspects of Shiva. The rest of the mantra is the aspect of Devi. So within this mantra is contained both the Stri Lakshana and the Pum Lakshana, thereby making this Panchadashi mantra a mantra that confers both bhoga and moksha. That is why Tantra says in another place, Tasmad Ashesha Varnanam Tripuraradhanam Vina Nasto Bhogapavargautu Yogapadyena Kutrachita. Besides the Aradhana of Tripura Devi, that is to say Devi through this Sri Vidya, through this Panchadashakshari mantra, there is no other way that people can get bhoga and moksha yogapadyena. Nasto bhogapavargautu yogapadyena. Other mantras will give bhoga or moksha, but it is only Devi's mantra that gives bhoga and moksha simultaneously. This is one speciality of Sri Vidya. So that speciality of Sri Vidya is being told in a mantra, in a shloka, in this Kalyanavristhi Stava, in a very beautiful way. Bhagavatpada says, Sarvajnatam sadasivak patutam prasute devi tvadanghi sarasiruhayof pranamaha kincha sphuran makutam ujjvala matapatram dve chamarecha mahatim vasudham dadati. So, Devi tvadanghi sarasiruhayof pranamaha. O Devi, one namaskara done to your pada padmas, it confers many benefits to the sadhaka. For example, so then Bhagavatpada is listing out all of those. Sarvajnata, he will become a great darshanika, he will know everything. There is no branch of knowledge that will be close to him. Bhaje hamsadvandvam kimapi mahatam manasacharam yadalapad ashtadasha ganita vidya parinatihi. Bhagavatpada says in Saundarya Lahari. So he says, Bhaje hamsadvandvam. I pray to that pair of hamsas, that is to say, Tripura Sundara and Tripura Sundari. Yada lapat ashtadasha vidya, ashtadasha ganita vidya parinatihi. From whose speech, it is from Devi and Parvati and Parameshwara, that the 18 vidyas came forth. That is to say, Angani, Vedas Chatvaraha, Mimamsa, Nyaya Vistaraha, Dharma Shastram, Puranancha Vidyahyetas Chaturdasha, and then the 4 Upavedas. So the 6 Vedangas, Shiksha, Kalpa, Vyakarana, Nirukta, Jyotisha, Chandas. And the 4 Vedas, Rig, Sama, Atharva. Then Angani Vedas Chatvara, Mimamsa, Nyaya, Dharma Shastra and Purana. These make 14. Then the 4 Upavedas. That is to say Ayurveda, Dhanurveda, Gandharva Veda and Arthashastra. These 4 are the Upavedas. So you combine all of these and these become the 18 Vidyas. So someone who worships Devi will attain mastery of all of these 18 Vidyas. That is why Sarvajnatam Prasute. The Upasana done of Devi, the Namaskara that is done to Devi, gives all kinds of jnana. And Sadasi Vak Patutam Prasute. It is not just knowledge, but knowledge also needs to be expressed. So Sadasi, in a sabha, that is to say when you are conducting vada with another person, Vak Patutam Prasute, it gives you strength of speech, it gives you great dexterity in speech. That is why also the 33rd Jagadguru, Abhinava Shankara, Jagadguru Shri Sachidananda Shiva Vinavasambharti Mahaswami, in the stotra says, Vade Shakti Pradatri Pranata Janatate Sat Sabhayam. In a sabha, when you sit down to do vada, and that too, especially that vada refers to a debate that is conducted in which both participants are not interested in undermining the other, nor are they interested in victory. Vada is that debate in which both participants seek to know the truth. So in such debates and discussions, Devi gives Shakti. That is why the Acharya has said, Vade Shakti Pradatri. In the same way, here also Bhagavatpada is saying, Sadasi Vak Patutam Prasute. When such debates are being conducted with other learned men, Devi allows for the expression of that knowledge, that the speech will be dexterous and capable. It is one thing to know something, and it is a much different thing to express whatever is that we know clearly. Devi will allow for that as well. And these are all related to jnana. These are all related to Vidya studies, and later on properly, if you do all of this properly, Brahma Vidya and Moksha from there. Then what about Bhoga? So there Bhagavatpada also says, Kincha. Kincha means what's more. It is used when you have something in addition to something else. Sphuran Mukutam. It will also give the Upasaka a crown. Ujjvala Matapatram. A resplendent umbrella. The paraphernalia basically of a Chakravarti, the parasol of a Chakravarti. Kincha Makutam Ujjvala Matapatram. Kincha Sphuran Makutam Ujjvala Matapatram Dve Chamare. 2 chamaras on the side. And Mahatim Vasudham Dadati. It gives also great expanses of land. Basically, someone who does this Namaskara to Devi will not just attain mastery of all Vidyas, but he will also become supremely affluent. He will basically become a king. He will become a Chakravarti. Because it is only for Chakravartis that Shveta Chhatra, the white umbrella, is held. Those chamaras are there. All of these lanchanas, all of these insignia belong to only kings of the highest order, kings who command vast empires. So the Namaskara to Devi grants that as well to the sadhaka. Then there is also one more shloka that will bring to mind, no doubt, one shloka from the Lalita Sahasranama. Kalpopasamhritishu kalpita tandavasya devasya khanda parashof para bhairavasya Pashanku Shaikshava Sharasana Pushpa Bana Sa Sakshini Vijayate Tava Murti Rekha. This is a very beautiful shloka, and as you may have guessed, this is basically a vyakhyana to the name in Lalita Sahasranama, Maheshwara Mahakalpa Mahatandava Sakshini. She is the witness to the Mahatandava performed in the Mahakalpa of Maheshwara. So in the Saubhagya Bhaskara, very nicely, the Sarthakyas, why that Maha has been used each time. There are many Ishwaras in the world, there are many people that rule the world, but there is only one Maheshwara, one Ishwara that rules over everyone. All other rulers are subject to some other ruler, but there is only one supreme master of this cosmos who is Paramatma, Parameshwara, and that too Maheshwara Mahakalpa. So between kalpas there are avantara pralayas, but there are still some jivas that survive, some beings that survive from one kalpa to the next. This is a Mahakalpa, which is implying that there is nobody else that is left. Basically, the entire Srishti is ripped apart back into the Panchabhutas and the Panchabhutas to the Tanmatras to be started afresh in the new Srishti. So there is no being that is corporeally surviving from one Mahakalpa to the next. In that Mahakalpa, not just a Kalpa, but in that Mahakalpa, in that bigger cycle of time, Paramatma performs a Mahatandava. This is not, and the Mahatandava is to differentiate it from the normal Sayam Tandava. So Paramatma performs Tandava every evening in Kailasa. That is normal. But this is a Mahatandava, also known as the Pralaya Tandava, the Tandava that is only performed for the dissolution of the world. So that is why in Lalita Sahasranama, this is referred to as Maheshwara Mahakalpa Mahatandava. And although the entire cosmos, as I said, is ripped apart into its bare constituents, Devi, however, remains as the Sakshi, Mahatandava Sakshini. She is the sole witness to that Tandava of Shiva. So, actually, in the Vyakhyana of this name, for the Vyakhyana of Maheshwara Mahakalpa Mahatandava Sakshini, Bhaskara Raya has quoted this very shloka from the Kalyanavristhi Stava. So that is why it is very apt that we remember this shloka henceforth whenever we look at that name in the Lalita Sahasranama, and also vice versa. Whenever we look at this shloka in this stava, we should also this should also bring to mind that particular name from the Sahasranama stotra. And here there is an inner meaning that is also hidden within this, that Bhaskaraya very nicely explains and then says that this meaning is present in this shloka. So what we actually mean is, when Paramatma performs the Pralaya Tandava, there is nothing else left. There are no, there is no Panchikrita Panchabhuta Srishti left. There is no Panchabhautika Srishti left. That is to say, the grossified Panchabhutas now no longer hold sway. There is nothing that is made out of the Panchabhutas that is left. The Panchabhutas have been ripped apart. The Panchabhutas, that is to say, each Panchabhuta is actually a mix of all the Bhutas. For example, the Panchikrita Prithvi will be 50% Prithvi, 12.5% Akasha, 12.5% Vayu, 12.5% Tejas and 12.5% Jala, and also Prithvi. So first that will be ripped apart so that you will have pure Prithvi, pure Jala, pure Akasha in this way. And then that also will be ripped apart into the Tanmatras, and then that also will be subsumed into the Maya principle of Paramatma. So in this way, when the entire Srishti has become dissolved, there is nothing else left. What is left is the Sakshi Chaitanya. It is the Sakshi to itself. That is to say, Devi is that Chaitanya that is the Sakshi to the Srishti Sthiti Laya Karta. So when Chaitanya as Ishvara performs Srishti Sthiti Laya, there is one more entity called Ishvara Sakshi. So in this is a slightly harder topic to kind of understand. But in Shastra, the difference is Maya Vachinna Chaitanya is Ishvara. The Maya Upahita Chaitanya is called Ishvara Sakshi. We do not have to go into the minutiae of that. But basically the same Chaitanya, when you change the reference point of how you look at it, will be either Ishvara or the Ishvara Sakshi. So it is another way of saying that Devi and Shiva are the same entity, they are inseparable, but it is just a matter of standpoint. Whether you are looking at as Shiva or Shakti depends on the standpoint. And in that state wherein Pralaya has happened and there is nothing else left, that Chaitanya becomes its own Sakshi. There is no other object of perception other than itself, which is why it is Devi who is the Sakshi of Parameshvara. She is the Sakshi of the Laya. In that Laya state, nothing else is happening because everything is dissolved into Paramatma. And then Paramatma's Shakti becomes the Shakti of himself. Which is why there is no difference between Chaitanya and Chaitanya's Shakti. That is why also the Sankshepa Sharirika Kara says, Chit-Shaktif Parameshwarasya Vidita Mahita Chaitanyam Evochyate. The Chit Shakti is none other than Chaitanya. So Chit means Chaitanya, Chit Shakti means the Shakti of the Chaitanya. That is none other than the Chaitanya of Parameshvara. Chit Shaktif Parameshwarasya Mahita Chaitanyam Evochyate. So there is no difference between Chaitanya and the Chit Shakti. It is just a change in the reference point. The reference frame, it is called, right? So when that is the case, in that Pralaya, the Chit Shakti is the Sakshi of Chit. The Chit Shakti is the Sakshi of Chaitanya. That is the inner meaning of what we mean when we say that Devi is witness to the Pralaya Tandava of Parameshvara. So this is one more very beautiful shloka. And then Bhagavatpada has also written Pasha Ankusha Aikshava Sharasana Bana Pushpa. So Devi's form has also been told in this. As we know, she has Pundrekshu Pasha Ankusha Pushpa Bana Haste. She has 4 things in her hands. The Pundrekshu, the bow that is made up of sugar cane. Then Pushpa Bana, 5 flowery arrows, and then an Ankusha, the elephant goad that is used to control the elephant, and a Pasha, a noose. And what the inner meanings of these Ayudhas are has also been described in Lalita Sahasranama. Ragaswarupa Pashadhya. The Pasha, the noose that Devi has is called Raga. As we all know, Raga is the liking, the attraction that one has towards sense objects. And it is very apt that is manifest as a noose because it ties, it binds. So that is why the Raga is personified as a Pasha. Krodhakara Ankushojjvala. So the Ankusha, the elephant goad is Krodha. Because what does the goad do? It tricks the elephant. It literally goads on the elephant. And the elephant is always said to be Matta. Usually an elephant is a sign of Mada, of that madness that does not allow it that discrimination of thought. So the Ankusha drives on that maddened elephant. In the same way, Krodha drives on the mind. It blinds the mind and drives it on to commit things that it otherwise would not. That is why Hanuman says in Sundarakanda also, Kruddho Hanyat Gurunapi. Someone that has completely fallen under the influence of anger will do unspeakable things to even the Guru. The kruddho kaha na kurute papam. Who is it that will not do a papa if he is angry? Kruddho hanyat gurunapi. So in that way, the entity called krodha, called anger, pricks us, maddens us, and goads us on to do things that we otherwise would not do. Which is why that krodha is personified as an ankusha, the elephant goad. In the same way, the dhanus that Devi has, that sugarcane bow, is manorupa ikshu kodanda. It is like the manas. So this ikshu has something called parvas, basically where those different sections of the sugarcane meet. Those are called parvas, and these correspond to certain parts of the mind, certain tendencies of the mind. We don't have to go into the minutiae of that as well. But that is the sadrishya. When we say that the mind is represented as the sugarcane bow, that is why that this is done. And then pancha bana, manorupekshu kodanda, pancha tanmatra sayaka. The 5 arrows that Devi holds, the 5 flowers, are the 5 tanmatras. Shabda, sparsha, rupa, rasa, gandhas. So these, when united with the bow of the mind, so when the mind unites with these 5 things, the sight, touch, smell, all of these, the Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandhas, then it drags the jiva into samsara. So if you look at these 4 things that Devi has, the manas, these 5 arrows of the tanmatras, krodha and raga, these are all the implements used to ensure that the jiva stays in samsara. The unrefined mind will continue to push the jiva into samsaric tendencies. These 5 Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandhas ensure that the jiva continues to have something that he wants to experience in samsara, that want to experience more, that desire towards the objects is raga, and that anger that propels him to do more and more papas is called krodha. So these are all the entities that ensure that we stay in samsara. Devi has the power to keep us in samsara or pull us out. Samsara panka nirmagna samudharana pandita. She is adept at pulling us out of this bog called samsara. So it is because these entities are in her hands that she can decide whether she wants to leave us there or pull us out. The only difference is whether we seek refuge in her or not. That is why she is also called Pashu Pasha Vimochani. It is up to the cowherd whether he wants to tie the animal or untie it. In the same way, Devi also, it is up to her whether she wants to keep us bound in samsara or release us from samsara by giving us jnana as the Guru. Then we will look at one last shloka of the stotra. Hrinkarameva tava nama tadeva rupam tvan nama dullabhimaha tripure grananti tvat terasa parinatam vyadadi bhutam Saukyam tanoti sarasiruha sambhavadehe. This is one other very nice shloka. Here basically Bhagavatpada is saying, Hrinkarameva tava nama tadeva rupam. This Hrinkara is your name and form. This is a very interesting statement that Bhagavatpada has made. So we can understand that the mantra is akin to the Devata's name, because it is a sound that denotes the Devata, which is why the mantra of a Devata is akin to the Devata's name. Hrinkaram evatava nama. But how is it that Tadeva Rupam? How is it that the mantra is the form of the Devata? It is because all forms do not have to be like our body, accompanied with arm, hands, legs, a face and a neck and a chest and all of that. There are various forms that a Devata can take. The form that we see, that is to say, when Devi is sitting, Aruna Kausamba Vastrabhasutkati Tati, and all of that, when she is sitting with the Chaturbhujas and the Kirita and all of that, that is her Tairasa Swarupa. That is her form made of Tejas. But Devi, any Devata will also have a Shabda Swarupa. They will have a sonic form. It is that sonic form that manifests as a mantra. They will have a Rekhatmaka Sharira, a form that is a geometric form. That is what the yantra is. So for Devi, the geometric representation of Devi is the Shri Chakra. The sonic representation of Devi is exactly this Panchadashakshari mantra. The Taijasa manifestation of Devi is the form that we usually see in Chitrapatas with 4 arms and the red sari and the crown and the moon and all of that. So it is important we keep in mind that the mantra is not something that is used to worship the Devata. The mantra is none other than the Devata itself. So when the Guru does mantropadesha for us, The Guru is not just giving us a means of worship. The Guru has given us the Devata itself. It is as if it is even more significant than if the Guru had given you a Vigraha of that Devata. Because at the end of the day, the Vigraha is a Bimba for the Devata's Chaitanya. But this mantra is the sonic manifestation of the Devata. The Devata itself has manifested as the mantra. For a Vigraha, you have to make the Vigraha and then imbue it with the Devata's presence. But this mantra is such that Devi herself has manifested herself in this sonic form. So when the Guru gives us the mantra, we should have the utmost reverence towards the mantra and the utmost bhakti towards the Guru, the utmost gratitude towards the Guru for giving us not just a means of worship but for giving us that Devata itself. The second mantropadesha has happened, that Devata is with us at all times as the Shabda Swarupa of that mantra. And that is why Tvannama Durlabhamiha, that is why the mantra is said to be Durlabha. In Mantra Shastra also they say mantras are not supposed to be shouted from rooftops. These are not situations in which we can say, the more people that do it, the more people will get punya, so we'll just yell and announce it to the entire world in a loudspeaker. That is not the sampradaya. That is not the way that this upasana is treated, because these things have value. Anything that is valuable has to be earned through hard work. It is not to be given out. So those sadhakas who prove their nishtha to the Guru, those sadhakas who prove that they have the necessary qualifications, they have the adhikara, those sadhakas who prove that they are truly sattvic and that they follow sadachara, it is those sadhakas who become qualified to receive the mantra from the Guru. First of all, that tapa should be there, that I really want this mantra. That is the first qualification of becoming eligible for the mantra. And then you have to be jitendriya. All of these qualities are there to get a mantra. It is also, that is why it is said in Shastra that the Guru should test the student for an entire year and ascertain his true nature and his qualities and whether or not he has that sadhana sampatti or not before giving him such mantropadeshas. That is why it is said, not for this Panchadashi mantra, but for the Shodashi mantra, it is actually said. Acharya is also has told this statement on many occasions when someone has asked for that mantra. To show how important that mantra is and how much gravity is assigned to that mantra. Rajyam deyam shiro deyam nadeya shodashe para. You give up an entire kingdom. You give up your head if need be. Do not give the Shodashe mantra to anyone. It does not mean that Shodashe mantra should not be given to a student. It means that we should be that careful when the Shodashe mantra is given. Whoever is doing the Upadesha of the Shodashe mantra should vet the mantra grahita that carefully. So that is why Bhagavatpada has said, Tvannama Durlabhamiha Tripure Grananti. That is why your mantra is said to be very hard to obtain, because this mantra is not something that you can just buy in the store. It is something that has to be earned through sadhana. So, having said that, then Bhagavatpada, finishing up, talks about the vilasa of Devi. Devi is so merciful as a mother that Tvatterasa parinatam vyadadi bhutam saukhyam tanoti sarasiruha sambhavadehe. Vyadadi bhutam, the vyat is akasha, vyadadi bhutam, the panchabhutas. So akasha, vayu, agni, jala and prithvi, and by extension the universe that is comprised of these five bhutas, vyadadi bhutam, tvad vilasena parinatam. It is Tvatterasa parinatam. This srishti that has unfolded by your tejas, it is your Shakti that allows for this entire world to manifest. What is the point of this manifestation? Why has this world even come into place? There, the Brahma Sutras tell us, Lokavattu Leela Kaivalyam. This world, this samsara has been made solely for Leela. It is, so the way that Leela has been explained is, it is an act that is not done for something else. The act in itself grants Ananda. For example, if you are eating something, when you eat to get Ananda from something else, because it is something else that gives you Ananda. It is not the act of eating that gives you Ananda. But it is when you perform an act and there is nothing else that gives you Ananda. The act is done not to obtain anything, but just for the sake of happiness. That act is called a Leela. That is what we see in children, for example. They play. They do not need anything. The example that Bhagavatpada gives in the Brahma Sutra Bhashya there is, of a king. So a king will sometimes just go sport in a garden. Why does he sport? For no reason. Sporting gives him happiness, that is it. There is no end goal that comes from that. If you sport, what will you get? Will your kingdom increase? Will your money increase? Will your wealth increase? Will your army increase? The king will not care about all of that. He will sport in a garden simply because sporting gives him happiness. In the same way, Devi also created this world solely to sport. There is nothing that she needs from this. So just for fun, basically. That is why the derivation of the word Lalita is given by the Purana as Loka Natitya Lalate Lalita Dena Chochyate. It is because she transcends these worlds and she sports. She is called Lalita. That Lal Dhatu denotes happiness, playfulness and all of that. So it is because she sports, having transcended the cosmos, that she is called Lalita. And then we have a question, then why even bother creating, going through all of the work? It is because this Jagat is meant to be experienced by the Jivas. The Jivas have karma sheshas from the previous cycle. So if they need to experience those karmas, they need one more janma. They need more janmas in which the previous karmic debt needs to be paid out. So it is in that situation that this world is created because the Jivas have some karma that they need to experience. That is why here Bhagavatpada has said, Sarasiruha Sambhavadehe Saukhyam Tanoti. So by Saukya, pleasure, and we can take by extension Dukkha as well. So the Sukha Dukkhas, this Prapancha that has manifested itself through your Shakti is useful for giving Bhoga. Bhoga is used for Sukha Dukkha, Anyatara Sakshatkara. To the experience of Sukha or Dukkha is called Bhoga. So this world gives Bhoga to all Jivas, as we say, right? Brahma Keta Janani. She gives rise to all beings from Chaturmukha Brahma up to insects. So Sarasiruha Sambhava Adehe, starting from Sarasiruha Sambhava, Brahma Adehe, up to every single living being. Their Sukha and Dukkha is the purpose of this Srishti, and this Srishti is Devi's play. So reminding us of that greatness of Devi, Bhagavatpada finishes the stotra, and in the last shloka, which is the Phalashruti, Bhagavatpada tells us about the nature of this stotra. Hrinkaratraya samputena mahata mantrena sandeepitam stotram yaf prativasaram tavapuro matar japen mantravit tasya kshoni bhujo bhavanti vashagaha lakshmishchirasthayini vani nirmala sukti bhara bharita Jagarti Dirgham Vayaha. Hrinkaratraya Samputena Rachitam Mahata Mantrena Sandeepitam. So this stotra is Sandeepitam. It is effulgent with the mantra that has Hrinkaratraya Samputa, that is accompanied by the three Hrinkaras. So those three Maya Bijas that form the three Parvas of the Panchadashakshari mantra. Along with those Aksharas, with that mantra, this stotra that has been composed, Stotram yaha prativasaram. Whoever reads this stotra every single day, tava puraha, in front of you, japen mantravit. He who knows this mantra and does parayana of this stotra in front of you, mataha, what will happen to him? Tasya kshoni bhujo bhavanti vashagaha. Kings will bow to him. And Lakshmish chirasthayini, wealth, which is usually fickle, will become permanent in his residence. It will reside permanently in his house. And Vani Nirmala Sukti Bhara Bharita, his speech will become very melodious and sweet. And Jagarti Dirgham Vayaha, he will have a long life and long Ayushya. That is the fruit of doing Parayana of this stotra every day. So now we must once again perform Anantakoti Sashtanga Namaskaras to the Jagat Gurus, who, knowing the essence of all the Shastras, being Vidyanidhin, Mantranidhin, who being the repository of all mantras, who being Sri Vidya Upasakas of the highest caliber, out of mercy to all of us who may not have had Upadesha and initiation into Sri Vidya, allowed us to reap these benefits of the Panchadashakshari mantra by telling us all to do Parayana daily of this Kalyanavristhi Stava. That is the reason why they sit on the Vyakhyana Simhasana. The Jagat Gurus know every single Vidya. As you said, Sarvajnatam, Sadasi Vak Patudam Prasad, that Sarvajnata is present completely in the Jagat Gurus, which is why in their Marga Darshana, as per their adeshas and ajnas, such stotras we are able to read, and we are able to reap the benefits that Bhagavatpada intended when he composed this stotra. So with that, in this short 1 hour span, we have only touched the surface of some of the intricacies of this stotra with the grace of the Jagadgurus. So once again, offering Sashtanga Pranamas to the Jagadgurus and to Lalita Tripura Sundari, who is herself Guru Mandala Rupini, I take your leave here. Ityesha Vangmaya Puja Srimachankarapadayor Arpita Tena Devesha Priyatam Me Sadashivaha Tava Tatvanna Janami Kidrishosi Maheshwara Yadrishosi Mahadeva Tadrishaya Namo Namaha Pravartatam Prakriti Hitaya Parthivaha Saraswati Shruti Mahita Mahiyatam Mama Pichakshapayatu Neela Lohitah Punarbhavam Parigata Shaktiratma Bhuhu.